Thank you everyone for joining. We're starting the webinar now. Arushi, are we good to go ahead?
Yes, Rashmi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Mihir Shah, to join us. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry, my video was off. Rashmi, could you allow me to switch on my video? Rashmi, I think you have to allow sir as well.
Yes, Arushi, I've given the rights. You can check now.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start. Thank you, sir, for joining. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Arushi Tibrewal from the research team at Trip Capital and your host for today. We were very happy to receive a topic suggestion from one of our YouTube subscribers, Mr. Siddesh Zagde. And so we are here with this informative webinar on the requested topic, which is export costing for MSMEs. The session would be taken by one of our most well-received speakers, Mr. Mihir Shah. Thank you, sir, for joining. It is great to have you here. A warm welcome and thank you to all our viewers on Zoom and YouTube for being a part of today's webinar. Before we move forward, I would like to give you all a brief introduction to Drip Capital. Drip Capital is a global trade finance company offering post-shipment collateral-free financing to MSME exporters in India. Drip works with over 5,000 buyers and sellers, including 1,500 plus exporter clients spread across 105 plus countries. We have financed over US $2.8 billion worth of international trade since Drip's inception in 2016. If you're interested to know more about Drip Capital and want to receive a call back from us, kindly fill out the form shared in the chat section right now. A quick note for our Zoom audience. During the webinar, please note your questions, and towards the end of the webinar, you'll be given an opportunity to raise your hands and ask your questions directly to Mr. Shah. For YouTube viewers, you can post your questions in the comment section, and sir would be happy to answer them. Without any further delay, let's begin the session. So it is plausible to confuse pricing with costing, but it is important to differentiate price, which is what exporters offer to customers on products, and cost, which is what exporters pay for the products, including logistic expenses, insurance, etc. Given the importance of appropriate export costing, it becomes necessary for exporters to learn ways to determine it and ensure availing maximum profits, like by creating a detailed export costing sheet, etc. This is what Mr. Shah will help us with today. Mr. Mihir Shah is an MBA and an LLB who offers consultancy and advisory services concerning foreign trade policy, GST, FEMA, RBI, customs, excise, and other allied subjects related to export-import business. He also provides training in the field of international business, covering various topics from the basic setup marketing, government incentives, international trade agreements, and GST for foreign trade. He's also an ICC Incoterms 2020 registered trainer in India. So with that, I would now ask Mr. Shah to address our viewers. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Arushi. Good afternoon. I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Perfect. So good afternoon and thank you all for joining in again. It's always a pleasure, and thank you for suggestions and your inputs so that Drip and us can come back to you with topic which is relevant to each exporter in their day-to-day life. Obviously, at n number of times, whenever we have discussed about exports, typically it is understood or it is probably assumed that the exporter understands his costing, understands his price, he understands the numbers, and the focus generally is either on the product or more importantly, to be honest, on the marketing side and buyers and getting the buyers and making sure that the buyer is available, and rest everything is assumed to be in place or in chance. However, the reality is that at least about 50 to 60% of export inquiries do not turn up in the positive side, or there's no feedback. And the reason being, the first instance when the exporter offers a price, the entire inquiry dies down. And many times there is no response from the buyer because the price which is being offered and the details which is being offered is poles apart. So when you have these kind of challenges and in terms of situations where there's no response from the buyers, the buyer find it too high or price non-clear, non-competitive, and it is very difficult for anybody to come back because the challenges which you have placed upon by offering a random price is something which buyer is not even comfortable to discuss and entertain, because he feels that, okay, you don't have a proper mechanism for it. So it is always essential that as an exporter, rather than going and looking at an easy shortcut, off of the cuff, simple, just for the heck of it kind of a costing, but to give appropriate, proper, detailed working, so that in case the buyer asks you for a cost and the costs are given, you at least know that there was an effort and the working was done to its merit, and you have no challenges on that front. With this in mind,